each and everyone.
जलजीरा सोडा में शुगर तो नहीं, शुगर नहीं।
Sorry. Hi team. I hope all are doing well. So first of all, I would like to thank each and everyone for gathering to this amazing meetup. So Swift Bengaluru online meetup. So let's not delay further. So today's agenda is, so we'll be having three speakers, and starting by Maheshwaran, and in the topic of accelerate development using TarkaUI kit, and followed by Kailash Sharma, who will be illustrating us how to create the first SwiftUI application. And if time permits, we can go for a short break. And around 4 p.m., Inder Singh will be sharing his insights of his experience how to migrate Zomato's mixed source iOS Codebase to Swift Package Manager. And followed with, we will be having a wonderful session, breakout session rooms. And in the finally, we will be having a feedback and suggestion, and along with the closing remarks. So each speaker will have 30 minutes of time, and 5 minutes will be the grace period to complete it, and 5 more minutes for the question and answer in the forum. So let's invite the first speaker, Maheshwaran, who is a software engineer in iOS, who will be speaking on the topic accelerate development using TarkaUI kit. Let's welcome Maheshwaran. Hi, Maheshwaran.
Hi, definitely.
Over to you.
Yeah, thanks. Give me a minute. I just asking some permissions, like I will join within a minute.
Yeah, sure, Mahesh.
So my screen, I hope my screen is visible to everyone. If not, let me know.
Yeah, it's visible. Okay.
Yeah, okay, fine. So yeah, hello everyone. Let me share my keynote. I hope this keynote is visible.
Mahesh, I have one question. Is this like a session is recordable, right?
I think it's already in recording.
So when will we get that link? After the recording? After the session, right?
I have
by end of the day
over.
you will get it.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, we'll start the thing. Yeah, we'll go. The topic is about SwiftUI, how we can increase or accelerate your development using reusable components. Yeah, most of the time we will develop apps, right? Like that time we will reuse most of the things, not some of the components we will use. So for that, if you create reusable things, right, so it will reduce our time to put in that components to develop, or else the task to complete within a scope. Yeah, for that, I just come up with the topic. Yeah, let me introduce myself. I hope.
Let me introduce myself.
Hello. Yeah, okay. So yeah, myself Maheshwaran. I'm a software engineer at City Technologies. I mostly work on EM360, it's a mobile app for Maximo. yeah, apart from that, I have completed my master's in computer science at University of Madras. Yeah. So yeah, today's agenda is about why we need reusable components, and next followed by customizable view modifiers, and then a conditional view modifiers, and also another one about showing sheet with some sort of modifiers like that. So followed by we will see some code examples, and at last we will see if there is any questions. We will have it at the last.
You stupid!
So
Holy
yeah,
fuck! I'm coming!
yeah, I will go with that. So yeah, basically why we need reusable components.
Yeah, Mahesh, just hold for a minute, okay?
The guys who are not interested, please leave this. Do not
That
make
is
this
not me.
session a
That
bad
is
one.
not
Okay?
me. No.
Those who are not interested, please leave it.
You sure, but
Okay, you can continue, Mahesh. Let's see if there are any issues now. We'll block those users. Mahesh, are you there? Can you hear me, Mahesh?
I don't think so.
I
Mahesh
think
is
he's not
there.
in the meeting anymore.
Yeah, can we just check with him once?
Yeah.
I think Mahesh is not able to join. Let me see how it got removed. Okay, so meanwhile, is it possible, Sabapati, we can go to the next talk and Mahesh can speak later on. Meanwhile, I'll sort out the issue.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you can just announce that, and then probably next talk we can continue.
Yeah, sure. So let's invite the next speaker, Kailash Sharma, who has experience in iOS and Android developer, and so he'll be illustrating on the creating your first SwiftUI application. So I would like to request Kailash Sharma to take over. Thank you.
Line, can we make Kailash host?
I think he should be able to share a screen. Let me see. And now he's a co-host.
Hi, great. Thanks a lot. So yeah, hello everyone. Like it's afternoon and so glad to see the enthusiasm. So yeah, first of all, really glad to be a part of Swift Bengaluru community. I've already been a part of Swift Mumbai, and now it's yeah. So now it's really a great thing to see you guys here. So I'll just share my screen and just give me a moment. Yeah. So the topic which we are going to discuss is creating your first SwiftUI app into the world of declarative UI. So let's start by like what's the agenda and why are we having this creating your first SwiftUI app. So basically the declarative UI, the whole declarative UI concept is in itself a very beautiful concept. And that's what I would like to emphasize on. We like before declarative UI came into the market, the whole theme revolved around imperative UI. So in this whole agenda, we would be discussing why declarative UI is important, why we should prefer Swift UI over UI Kit. Is UI Kit dead? And all those questions which usually freshers have, or anyone who is first time entering into the world of SwiftUI, and which questions which even I had when I was learning about SwiftUI. So yeah, let's deep dive into it. This. So just a small intro about myself. Who am I? And so I am a human who loves Apple, nature, and poetry. So I've also been a winner at a hackathon, which is organized by Google developers globally. I've been a 2x twice a winner at hackathon in Solution Challenge. I've also been an intern at a very famous fintech startup, which is Fold Money. And currently I'm working with an remote-based startup, which is leadbeam.ai. There also I'm an app intern. And I'm currently collaborating with clients across 3 different time zones. So that's a bit about me. And so let's so this was my first SwiftUI app. You can just have a look at this. We'll definitely come back to this slide when I will explain you what is SwiftUI and what it is. This was the first SwiftUI app which I built. And obviously it was very much loved by the community. It was loved by the Swift Mumbai community. And now I'm glad I'm presenting it in the Swift Bengaluru community as well. So let's come back to the throwback to WWDC 2023, when this was the most iconic picture. The best way to build an app is with Swift and SwiftUI. So what is exactly SwiftUI and what is exactly declarative programming? So basically just consider an example of, and this is a very famous example and you're gonna find it almost everywhere. Just consider a famous example of an restaurant owner. And so if you are going to a restaurant and if you want to order a dish, so what do you usually do? You just go to the restaurant, you order the waiter that I want to eat, suppose a pasta or pizza. I want to eat this. And then you sit back and relax and your pizza is delivered on your table. That's where declarative programming is. Because in declarative programming, we do not care about we do not care about how the layout is built. We just provide like the how rather than the why. So this is the the big difference you can say. In imperative programming, considering the same example, just consider yourself, like if you are a cook. I'm not, but if you are a cook, so just consider yourself. If you want to make some dish, we'll actually research how I want to make it and all. But in this, you are trusting the chef, you are trusting the restaurant that okay, my dish would be delicious and I like it. So in the same way, we are trusting the Swift UI framework. We are just providing this framework that these are the details, these are the things I want to build. And Swift UI behind the scenes, it will combine down, it will create a node tree, and it will help you create the architecture. So again, the next question comes is like, why are we using SwiftUI? Like, what's the main reason behind using SwiftUI, and why as developers we should consider migrating from imperative programming to declarative programming? So this is again a very good question, and there is no specific answer to this. But the reason why I always prefer, and the reason why I've seen working with different startups and working my minimal level of experience, I've always seen that Swift SwiftUI or declarative programming makes the life much more easier. So just in the previous talk, you heard about there were reusable components. So that's just one advantage of SwiftUI, which it gives you. It provides you a very extensive animation framework. You can very easily create reusable components, which you can not only reuse within your code base, but you can reuse it within multiple code bases as well. So that's just one of the few use cases which I'm counting on my fingertips. There are multiple use cases which declarative programming gives us. So, and at the end of the discussion, you do not have to worry as a beginner, as a fresher, if you're stepping into the world of programming as a fresher, if you are starting your initial journey into UI development, you do not have to actually worry about how the layout node is being constructed, how it's like many people must be knowing your storyboards and UI kit. It's like it's not way complex, but you have to consider a lot of things. That's so in SwiftUI, you do not have to consider a lot of things. You just have to remember the three stacks which are there, which is the V stack, which is the H stack, and the Z stack. These three stacks are like almost going to solve 70 to 80% of your initial use cases when you are creating your first applications. So end of the story is that SwiftUI makes your life much more easier. So first reason is write once, run everywhere. We all are Apple developers here. The reason why we love Apple and the reason why I also love Apple development is the ecosystem. We are all in love with the ecosystem, and that's the reason Apple has its edge over everyone in the market. So Apple with the introduction of SwiftUI in 2015, when Swift was introduced in 2015, and with the introduction of SwiftUI in 2019, Apple actually aimed that we can create multi-platform applications with a single code base, with the single structure, and with just minimal changes for the platform. So write once, run everywhere is one of the most extensive use cases. You can just imagine it that you're creating a multi-platform application when you're running your Xcode, and that multi-platform application is going to run from all your devices, ranging from Mac OS to tablet OS to iPhone to iOS to TV OS, Watch OS, and now even Vision OS. So like Apple is trying to extend its old framework in the same platform. So we can, it's a minimal hassle for developers. You do not have to worry about a lot of things. And in future, even if Apple plans to release, step into any other segment, we do not have to worry a lot about restructuring our code base. Everything would be handled by Apple itself. Yeah, as I said, declarative UI. So as I said, this is like a very again, let me just if Apple, in almost the WWDC 2024 also, you must have heard, in WWDC 2023, and starting from WWDC 2019 when SwiftUI was introduced, Apple has emphasized on SwiftUI. So I don't know how this sounds, but if Apple is emphasizing that SwiftUI is the future, as I showed you the slide, you have to onboard the train, because that's the thing. If there's something of a mega giant like Apple is emphasizing on something, you have to onboard the train it or not. That's the thing. So some or the other way, you have to start migrating to SwiftUI. Initially, when things were migrated from Objective C to Swift, also that time also there were a few difficulties for developer to migrate the whole code base. And even I have migrated some some complex code bases in SwiftUI, and I really had to write UI kit code as well, which is a part of my next slide as well. So there were obviously a lot of hassle, and still there are many functionalities which it is not extensively available in SwiftUI. But again, on top of just a cream on the cake is SwiftUI and UI kit are interoperable. So you can just call UI kit code from SwiftUI, you can call SwiftUI code from UI kit. Both are interoperable, so you just don't need to migrate your whole code base just on the go. Just it's not like that. We can migrate it step by step. Just some initial component we can keep it in SwiftUI, and that's how it is usually done and recommended as well. So yeah, this was my first app in SwiftUI. I will just take a minute to share this as well. And this a few slides from here, say 4 to 5 or 6 to 7 slides. are specifically for someone who is fresher into iOS or into SwiftUI development as well, because it's just going to tell you how you should approach your initial journey into app development, into iOS development, because uh, these were the hassles which I faced. Like as mentioned in the slide as well, I am an Android developer, and I've also been working into iOS as well. So just these are small my experiences which I would like to share. So this was my app, which was known as Quick Scan. So basically, like we all are like, community loving folks. We all love visiting various meetups, and that's the reason we all are here meeting today, and we all are listening to the awesome meetup. So we all go to various meetups. We connect with a lot of people. We connect, and that's just one of the use case. We connect with a lot of people. We get their various QRs like LinkedIn or Twitter, and sometimes portfolio. And how do we usually manage them? Like, what's the preferable use case? We scan it on the go, like at that point of time, and just connect it, or sometimes we just take a picture of it and then connect it. But we all know QR codes are not as bulky as an image, right? So they are like just a simple text which can be stored. And what if you are actually scan if you have taken picture of 10 different images? How are you going to recognize this is for whom? Like every time you need to open the scanner and then check it out. So that's where my app came into picture, and I thought of it that this can solve a problem. So basically, I just created a scanner. Like it was just a simple scanner where you can just scan it, and behind the scenes, it saves the QR code automatically into the memory using Swift data. I'll talk about it in the later slides. So it just saves into the memory using Swift data. I started with core data. There are some things which I also prefer Swift data can bring into the picture. So I saved it in the memory, and it automatically refracted whether it's a LinkedIn QR and whether it's a Twitter QR or any other QR. And then you can name your QR codes as well. So you're just seeing your QR code as a list of entries rather than actually saving it into pictures. So this can be very useful when you have a bulk of, it's not limited to QR code, but all type of barcodes, ranging from barcodes to QR codes to even Aztec codes, which are used in your boarding passes and all. So all type of codes are supported with it. So that's was like a short about my first SwiftUI application. So yeah, again, like coming back to the point, why SwiftUI? So this is not actually related to why SwiftUI, but this is one of the most famous things which I usually love in iOS development, which is the SF symbols. So if you are a person who is coming from a different app development background, or even a web development background, or if any other background, you must have faced the hassle of having the platform specific application, the platform specific uh, icons. And I've personally faced it. And we designers, we tend to have a lot of discussion with the developers and designers. They have a lot of discussions, and then migrating it, and then storing it as bulky SVG files or PNG files, and then using it. Obviously, that's a use case. But what if we need the iOS specific, the platform specific icons? How are we going to get it? So Apple has done our lives very simple, and there's a whole application which is SF symbols, which gives you a lot of features. And every time every year with WWDC, there is a new things of features which it's released. What's new in SF symbols? So you just need to type the code name, and then you are like very easily you can just import it on the go. So like that's a very one of my favorite use cases as well. Okay, just a moment. So the next question comes is UI kit dead? So that's one of the very famous questions which I have heard when I have given talks, or when I had taken mentoring sessions, or when I was learning myself SwiftUI, because I had some of minimal experience in Android development as well. So is UI kit dead? Like this is a question which usually freshers face, that what should I learn for SwiftUI or UI kit? Or if I'm learning SwiftUI, should I actually learn UI kit also in the future? So the answer for this question is no, not at all. SwiftUI plus UIKit makes you the best iOS developer. So the thing which I proceed is proceeded is start with SwiftUI. SwiftUI gives you a lot of functionality out of the box, which you can leverage it, which you can create beautiful UIs very seamlessly for multi-platform applications. But then when you deep dive into native functionalities, when you deep dive into actually platform specific implementation, calling the camera, calling location based services, there are a lot of use cases. At that point of time, you might feel that there are some the specific things according to the UI, I cannot do it, and I have to learn UI kit. So how I would suggest is just start learning SwiftUI, and then initially step by step, when you are learning it, just find out the things which you want to implement in UI kit, and then start learning UI kit, because both the things work hand in hand. And you've always seen in WWDC as well. Apple also introduces, like Apple has never discarded UI kit, or Apple has never said we are going away from UI kit. So every time it's what's new in SwiftUI and what's new in UI kit. So we have both the things coming on side by side. So I would suggest that both are equally important, and learning both of them makes you a good iOS developer. So how I created my first SwiftUI application, and how you can also create, and what is the approach? This is a very lightweight session. I encourage you guys that you can ask me questions as well. Like, this is a very lightweight session where I want to focus on how, rather than I want to focus on why rather than the how. Like, why you should learn it. And because we all are developers, we all are very good at developing, programming, we all have learned it very well. But if the why is not clear, we tend to not make the best application which actually solves the problem. And that's where, like, we as app developers, or say, we should focusing on the why. So the first and the foremost step is find an idea you always wanted to create. As I mentioned as well, it is very, very important. Like, you take out something, you choose an idea which solves the problem. Like, I'm never discouraging any shorts clone or any application clones, but finding a true idea, the idea is born from you, then you have a specific soft corner for it. And that was the case with me as well. And that's the usually case. If you are creating something by your own, you'll also love it more than you have just created a clone of an existing application. And if you're actually solving out a problem, when you'll also feel immensely happy, immensely proud, sharing your experiences, sharing it with people. So always find out a very simple problem which you always, like, we all in our free time, we always get thousands of ideas. Oh, I want to solve this. Oh, I want to solve this and that. So take any of them and see how it's feasible. Just during the time of researching how I have to implement it, I can guarantee you will learn almost 20 to 25% of iOS development, because you will research so much that for this, how I'm going to proceed, how I'm going to proceed. You'll research a lot. And once you'll research a lot, you'll actually find its use case as well, where things are actually used, rather than just if you follow a series of videos, but not it's not going to be as useful when you are actually solving a problem and creating a project. So it's not just creating a pet project, but a project which solves the problem. Then the next thing is just start with simple UI designs, where you can just create a simple UI designs. And this were my simple UI designs. So just find out UI designs on Dribble, or there are various platforms. Just find out Behance, Dribble. Just find out UI designs and try to clone them. Do not try to use the online designs to SwiftUI converter. Try to clone them, because that's how the learning will take place. And these were some of my UI designs which I implemented. So try to clone them, and that's where you will learn to create beautiful UIs. Because we as users as well nowadays, having beautiful UI is one of the most top needy skills in the market. Then start learning the basics first. And this was the thing which I received an advice when I was learning iOS development. And probably there are very senior people sitting here, and they would also agree to this. We should always learn the basic and know what's the language all about. So like if I share my experience, I came from an Android developer background. So I had you can say, we call it in development language, that's a backlog of Kotlin. So many times we also happen that I was coding in Swift, but I was writing Kotlin. So this usually happens with with us as well. We do not go with what's the core thing Swift is Swift is solving. What Swift has some niche use cases, some edge about other languages. How we have to actually think about Swift. Like there is a very famous concept, famous saying. If you actually think, like one of my seniors said, if you actually think Swift concurrency, so you have never learned it well. So this is also one of the very famous things. So try to learn the basics, like rather than this is specifically for the freshers or who are coming up for the first time. Try to focus on the basics first, like rather than directly jumping into AR, like all that stuff. Obviously, I'm not discouraging this. Really good stuff, but focusing on how to implement the concurrency is far more important than going into far complex stuff, because that's where the basics would help you and help you create a good iOS developer. Then comes about learning about networking and persistent storage. So yeah, networking and persistent storage, these are the, you can say, the bare minimum use cases which any app developer should learn about and should know about, because like if you are having an app, you're obviously going to interact with the server, and if you're having an app, the reason why app is used is it should be able to work offline. So the two important thing is learning about networking, how to do API calls, and learning about persistent storage, which I also mentioned earlier, which was core data and Swift data as well. And there are other things as well, like preferences, there is app storage, and there is a lot more things to learn. So I would suggest that these things, again, this all counts in the basic. These things any fresher should always learn and try to implement these things in their first or second Swift or SwiftUI applications, so that you actually have a work and have an overall idea how an actual complete app is built, rather than just having an idea of how the UI is built or how the backend is handled. You'll have an idea of how the complete app is built, and that's when you will become a good app developer. And yeah, that's the most important thing of all. Start building out in public, because even I faced it. We always try to feel, oh, I've done just this small work. Why should I put it out in the public? But there are various developers, there are various communities who are always ready to help you out, ready to support you out, who have done this. And now, like, there are various communities, there are various people who will always support you. And putting out in the public also gives you an advantage of creating a portfolio in the public as well. So if there are any organizations or there are any recruiters who are watching, they'll all obviously see that, oh, okay, the person is constantly learning something. So they will obviously give you an edge case, and you might directly receive you might be directly flooded up with your LinkedIn cold emails or something like that. It usually happens when you build it over a period of time. So try to put it out on LinkedIn, your like Twitter, and any other platform which you feel comfortable enough and which you feel it's enough. I would suggest LinkedIn, Twitter, and all these platforms you should go at equally, because you do not know which, from where the moon shines. So that's where I would suggest everyone to start building out in public. And the summary of my presentation is, the task is to get it done. When we start with a pet project or anything for an hackathon, I have participated in several hackathons. What we do is we just we start with the project, and while the end of it, we just tend to leave it up unfinished. That's where it's, do not try to include many features, but try to get that project done. Try to make it complete, so that if you have an Apple developer account, you can release it on the App Store, and if not, you can at least show it to people and at least put it on your social handles. So if it's a complete project, that is more like, that has a more use case, and that has a more valuable learning, rather than having an incomplete and unfinished project with a lot more of features. This usually we can do it obviously once you have made 4 to 5 projects and you have a good idea of how the development works. Then you can focus on the features and improving your code base. But if it's your first application, I would suggest that just go ahead, while just hook or crook, get it done. And yeah, that's obviously one of the most important part. Do join the communities here. That's where you will learn, and that's where even I have learned. You will learn more about you learn more about the industry trends. You'll connect with the people who are actually working with SwiftUI. You'll connect with famous developers, famous industry speakers, famous companies who are actually coming up, and you will actually come to know how things are happening up in the industry. And there is a lot more to connect with the community. Just so I would suggest everyone to connect with the community as well. And last but not the least, keep building. Even if you are in the community, or if without if you're even if you are in the industry or not in the industry, try to participate in the hackathon. Try to participate in the create building some projects, some problems which you are trying to solve, because at the end we all are developers. We all are problem solvers. That's the accurate word which I can use it. And we all are solving some problems in some of the industries which we are working upon. So with this, we should continue this, and we should always try creating some projects which actually solves the problem. You never know that the idea which you created, and if you are launching it, it can be the next $1 billion idea as well. So always keep building, and always try putting it out in the public, and try keep connecting with people, because we all are humans. As I said, I am a human who loves apple, nature, and poetry. We all are humans. We love to connect, and we love to interact with each other. So yeah, thank you. That's from my side, and thank you so much. You can connect with me on my socials, and yeah, that's all. So there are some questions.
Thank you,
How
Kailash, for the speech. Yeah, forum is open for queries. Yeah, you can post your question.
Yeah. How can I get to know about SwiftUI public repos which I can contribute to? So yeah, definitely that's a very good question, Piyush. So definitely for coming up for having to know about the public repos for contributing to SwiftUI, there you can obviously the first and foremost thing which you can do is you can connect with the community. You can there are various open source programs which are always up, always you will find it every time open. So you can join those open source program. Even I have been a part. We all know just one open source program, which is GSOC, but the journey is not limited to GSOC. You can connect with FOSS United, and there are a lot more. So definitely you can do that, and you can push your code. Like you can create PRs, and you can contribute to the open source. Can you share a link where we remember the practice? I remember you said Dribble maybe. So yeah, that's a very good question. I will definitely share Dribble, and yeah, thank you Inder for doing that. So yeah, I hope the questions are done. Why you choose iOS development or Android development? So that's a very good question. And is native performance is the main reason? So definitely. So I chose iOS development over Android development. So first and the foremost reason is the performance, and obviously that's just one of the reasons which you are figuring it out. There are various other reasons where Apple offers you, and a lot more functionalities out of the box, and Apple offers you a lot more features, a lot more things for the developer. And the most important reason which I mentioned, that is the ecosystem, because we all love we just consider yourself as a user. The reason why you're using Apple is because of the ecosystem, because of its seamless interaction between all your Apple devices. And being a user and a developer, it has always been a crazy thought that, oh, how can I figure it out to get it done? So that was one of the reasons why I chose iOS development over Android development. I have not abandoned Android development, and neither I'm planning to do so. But I obviously, love. I'm pursuing my career in future in iOS development more. So yeah, that's the one of the important reason. Obviously, other reasons as well. iOS has a more higher chances as well. So that's all from my side. I between miscommunications. iOS version SwiftUI is recommended. Yeah, it's iOS 13. Yes. If a project is already in UIKit, is it beneficial to translate the SwiftUI for future proofing? Yes, exactly. Even I have worked with a firm where specifically I migrated some of the screens from UIKit to SwiftUI. The reason why I would suggest from migrating from UIKit to SwiftUI is basically you will have a very you'll have a very one of the best advantages is you can use reusable components not only in the one code base but also across multiple code bases. So you just have to define the components one and you can call it all across the screens. You must have seen UI designer also implementing the same logic and reusing their components. So that's how even I would suggest that you can go ahead. Would it be wise to use Kotlin transpile as a tool for SwiftUI for long term? Also using community version of Swift data and observation that supports backend deployment. I'm sorry, I'm not able to get your question, Abhimanyu. Should we have to read Apple's human interface guideline for design principles? That's one of the best questions you can ever ask as a fresher. Yes, you have to read just try to imagine, just open any native iOS app that's mail application. Yeah, as Inder said, that's a Bible. That's the perfect answer which you can get. That's a Bible. Because just try to open any of the applications and just try to see how seamless it is and how simple it is. As Steve Jobs also said that making simple can be more harder than making complex, and that's coming from the the roots. So how to keep it simple but at the same time user friendly. So definitely you should visit the Apple human interface guidelines. At the initial stages you might find it overwhelming, but I can bet that Apple has the best documentation ever across any other platform, so you must have a look at it. Which one do you prefer? So just I have always worked with native application, and I've always native apps are evergreen. No one is going to replace, no one is just a very vague answer. If no, Apple is never going to abandon SwiftUI or Swift, sorry. Apple is never going to do that. But you might find in XYZ platforms, you might find they are based on some third-party support, third-party libraries. You will need to do some workarounds. But if there is any bugs or if there are any things which are lacking in native, you will get it fixed by Apple or fixed by Google, firsthand immediately, and that will be their top priorities. So native is, this is the question which I've always got. Native is not going anywhere, even though there are a ton of hybrid apps which are coming up in the market, but native is not going anywhere. Now we can use reusable components in SwiftUI like creating table view, yeah. But how SwiftUI is more advantageous on using reusable components? Yes, you can create components in Swift as well. That's so okay. So that's a very good question, Shubham. So how SwiftUI is more advantageous? Just so just try to, first of all, it has bare minimum lines of code. So just try to just try to have a look at implementation in SwiftUI and try to have a look at implementation in UIKit or storyboards or anything. So you'll just come to know how easy the Apple has made your lives and how easy it is to create components in SwiftUI. And you always find the animation framework is my favorite. It's my favorite framework. The low-level animation APIs. Yeah, I will come up with that question. The low-level animation APIs, they are so good and they are so seamless that you can really create industry-level applications in SwiftUI animations. Within clicks if you just understanding the logic. So that's the best thing which you can do. So yeah, that's a very good question. Any platform or YouTube channel, though platforms I would suggest is the first and the foremost platform is the developer.apple.com, the official documentation of Apple. You'll obviously get some pre-made projects as well. Apple does it very beautifully. So you can get some pre-made projects as well. And if you're talking about some YouTube channel, Paul Hudson, he's the god. He's the god of Paul. I'll just type it as well. So Paul Hudson, and there is hacking with Swift. Yeah, hacking with Swift, and there's also something known as Swiftful thinking. So I usually had a look at all of this. Sean Allen is also there. So these 3 or 4 YouTube channels, Swiftful Thinking, Sean Allen, Paul Hudson, and Developer.apple.com. Just this 4 YouTube channel, and I don't know, you just refer any one of them and just connect with the community, just connect with all of us, and you'll also find a lot of support from us. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, Kailash. I think we are running out of time, so we can you can take the questions offline.
Yeah, sure.
If anyone has any questions in the future, you can connect with him on LinkedIn. Questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kailash, for the insightful session. So it has been a new learning for the beginners, especially SwiftUI. Thank you. Thank you again. Hi, Maheshwaran.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no
it's fine. Yeah, sure. You can take over. Thank you.
So yeah, I hope my screen is visible.
Yes.
So yeah. So yeah, I just done my intro already. Like if you want myself, Maheshwaran. Yeah. So we'll move on. Like so today's agenda is about the reusable components. Okay, like why we are going with reusable components for app development. So why we need that. So we'll move on. So yeah, basically reusable components are useful when we have complex applications or multiple team members are working on the same project, right? We will have lots of codes we will write day to day. So it will lead to a lot of code duplication. We have to maintain multiple places to fix that bugs, right? So if you see here, so this is a plain simple SwiftUI button. So we will write this code multiple times whenever we create views or any form screen or like that. So if you compare the same thing in a UI kit, right? So this is a basic UI button. So you can see, right? I have copy pasted the three things, but same code, except that the action and that accessibility identifier was different. Maybe this could be easy to copy paste, but if you see in a production, right? If you find any issue in some places, we have to fix each and every places wherever it breaks, right? So if you gone with reusable components, it will be more easier to bug fix or releasing any kind of things. So you can fix at one place, it will affect throughout the app. So it will reduce our time and effort as a developer to improve our application quality and developer experience to be productive at the even at the fast time to complete our task with yeah. So just move on to another topic. So yeah, we will have a lot of SwiftUI modifiers to modify the views, like appearance or as a background or overlay. Like these kind of things will be coming when we work with SwiftUIs. So Apple is given a lot of modifiers. So it will, if you apply that modifier, it will update that view with a different style, behavior, and how that as per the UI guidelines, like they will update the screen with that things. Like yeah, we'll see the first example. Like I have created one SwiftUI modifier. Okay, like here I have created a border caption. So it's if you use this modifier protocol, so you can know that. So we just need to provide that body content. So I have used a font, a padding, and a overlay. So and then I added that foreground color. So yeah. So here, if you can use this border caption all over the SwiftUI views. So I have created one a simple extension so that I don't want to write this SwiftUI modifier each and every time whenever I use it in the view. So the problem here is I just want to apply this shift border caption to only specific places, but the code says you can apply everything. So like you can see, right? So I have a created extension. So if I apply to image, so it will apply. It won't even throw any error. But also for text, even you can apply anywhere in the app, like it will work. but I just created this border caption only for text. So if you use this SwiftUI extension, right, it will apply to all. I just don't want that extension to apply all over the app. So I just want to apply only for that text. Okay. So this way won't work. So I just created one constraint over that view. So be applied only for text. Okay. So you can see there is an example like I have a constraint over text. So now if you apply this modifier to other hierarchy, like if you see the below example, so I have applied for image. So now, so if you use that code, it won't compile our app. So it will show that some kind of error like this will apply only for the text. So you have applied for images. So also here, I just added this for text, it will compile. But the problem here is if you use this view extension, so it will convert that border caption to a sum view, but I want the same type. So if you see here, I have applied for text. So if you apply that any other text modifier, it won't work. So if you add fonts right to the text caption, so it will compile, but it will convert the type to sum view. You can see, right? This is the type it has converted because I have written the type as sum view for that border caption. But I want the same type like a text. Okay, so text town bus is the text I have used. So I need the same type, return type, but this won't work. So if you see the example, like image has this kind of behavior by natively given by Apple. So here, like I have swapped this position like a resizable. So it will throw an error because this image, right? So it will only apply to the type image, but you have applying for a frame. Frame will convert to some view. So I just inspired the same thing, like same pattern. So this is a modifier Apple is using. Similar, you can see multiple places like font, some other places. So this is a example. So I have inspired that. So and we have come up with a pattern. Like we have created modifiers. Like if you it just a example we are using in our packages. Like you want to create this modifiers within our views. So it will you just need to mark it as a self. So it is have the same type. Here I have used a TUI selection card. So shift as a native behavior. So we can create a copy and update the view. So it won't affect our app because shift has that native behavior like with the copy and write. So whenever you write till that the copy won't change. So that it won't it will behave nicely with our extensions. So same thing I've created for badge count. So same thing, like you can apply a number of things. So I will show you this representation at the last. So or else give me a minute, I will show in the real time. So you can see, right, this is a modifier. So I have applied for this TY selection. You can see, right, this is a view, but just don't consider that. So I have applied a style. So you can see, right, it has updated the first one. So we'll come out of these three things. We'll see it next. So I have applied a icon. So you can see, right, this is a modifier. So it will have the same type. If you see the type, so it will return the TY selection card. So we have followed the same modifiers, three that. So same thing, like you can add other modifiers, so it will behave differently. Like so based on the modifier, it will update that UI. So even for badge count, so you can see, right? So if I apply the badge count, so it has updated that UI till that. So if you add any SwiftUI modifiers, like if I add a font, right? So it won't compile our app, so it will throw an error, like because it doesn't know the types. So we just need to apply these modifiers within the same hierarchy, like it needs to know like TUI selection, because we have a added these modifiers within because if you write multiple modifiers in each and every view extension, right? So we will be confused and what to use, where to use, like these kind of questions will come. So this is type of a solution we have come up with this package. So that we can relay only this type of modifiers apply to this particular views. So then we'll move on to the next example. Like next, this is the same code I have shared just now in the Xcode. So next we will see the conditional view modifiers. Like we will write codes, right? But sometimes we have some kind of conditions like at a runtime or else some customer specific or else OS specific. These kind of things will come. But in SwiftUI, right, we can't use directly. We have to rely on that some sort of syntax. So to apply that. So for resolving that issue, we have created on extension. So it's a type of closure. So it will give that same type. So you can use a conditional. So even I have used a view builders. So it can support that conditional view modifiers. So it's a closure. So you can provide some conditional statements. So here, like I took an example of OS versions. Okay, so I have applied iOS 17 and above. So if it is true, then it will apply this style because this foreground style only for apply for iOS 17 and above. But so if it fallbacks that case, right? So we can apply this default foreground color. So you can use this syntax so to achieve that. So another example, like sometimes you can same example, like you can have some runtime variables like show border. You can see, right, whenever I tap this button, so it needs to show this. So basically, when it will have means like whenever you receive notifications or unread messages, something you need to update in wait and runtime. So it will you provide that Boolean flag with that conditional statement. So it will only apply whenever that statement true because we have used the rapid purpose. So it will apply trigger the view update. So it will ensure that this view is rendered in the UI. So or else you just need to you can do without this, but you have to use a Z stack or else opacity with a 0 and 1. Same thing, like we have used this pattern so to achieve that thing in runtime things. So yeah, so then we will move on to another example, show sheet. Like day-to-day things, we will write some button. So if I tap that button, right, we will show some detail view or something different views. So in SwiftUI, right? So this is a some basic sheet presentation. Like here, like I have used one button. So if I tap that button, it will show that sheet. So sheet needs a, type, requires a Boolean. It's a whenever this flag updated, so it will show this content. But so if you want some runtime variables, right? So like if you can see right here, I have some condition like user need to pass that user ID for this detail screen. Otherwise, I can't show that view because so if you use this both the things, right, we have created already two variables, like one for to present the sheet, another one for presenting that for that detail view. So whenever we need this, we have to create two variables to hold this state, and whenever it updates, so it will perform this UI update. It will show that sheet. But I don't want to keep these two states. So for a single action. So for that, we have one more option for this Apple already providing. So this is a modifier, but the caveat here is like it always need to know that type needs to be conforms to identifier. But sometimes, so you can apply this identifier protocol for every time, but it's additional efforts, right? Like sometimes you can do that. So you can natively provide the protocol, it will confirm to that. But here I don't want, because this string itself has that hashable protocol, right? So we can use that itself. So for that, we have come up with some sort of solution. So we have created a binding. So it's optional binding. So whenever the value as assigned, right? If it is not nil, so it will show the sheet. If it is uh, dismissed that view, right, it will revert it back to nil. So you can see, right? So it's a syntax. So it's an initializer given in the binding. So or else you can use a function. So it's the same example I have used. So you can name whatever you need. So I have used that syntax here. So now I have created only one variable with the username. Whenever I assign this variable, so it will uh, trigger the UI update, because we have updated with the property purpose. So that it will trigger the UI update. So it will present the sheet. When you dismiss this view, so it will get back that thing to nil, like so it will revert it back, so it will dismiss that view. So yeah, this is what like so I will show few more examples. Like we have come up of this is our repo, like TarkaUI kit. So we have some bunch of examples and design patterns we have introduced to develop these components. So we have listed here, like each and every components, how we support, how we develop like this. So this is what these things, if you want to go through these things, it was publicly available. It's open source, so you can get these things, you can use it in our app. Like this way you can improve your skills and your time and effort to reduce at the time of development. So if you want to see that sheet presentation style, so same thing, I have wrote the example. So you click this button, so it will show the sheet, it will dismiss, so it will remove this boolean to false, like that, so it will dismiss that. And that's it from my side. Like any questions I would like to answer. Hello? Hello?
Yes. Okay.
Mahesh, you can go through the chat as well. I think there are a couple of questions there.
Yeah, okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, I just forgot. So yeah, so sure, I will share the GitHub repo. Forgot to update. Right, just. So this is that repo. So it will redirect you to the wiki. So you can see that UI reference and how you can get things in your app. Like, so it will all the things, right? So whatever we shared in the things, it will have that preview example. So if you didn't find any direct things, right? Like if you see here, this is a UI top bar. So you can go to source and components, and this is app top bar. So we have this preview section. So every file has this preview. Like if it is a view, so it will have this preview. So you can copy paste this code, so it will show you that exact thing, like how it behaves, what are the options it has, even have some sort of examples, and you can also go through the code, how it performs that UI rendering, and these things you can go through. Like we have attachments like draggable cards, email, and overlays, menus, like even these search bars, these things. So even we have some bunch of modifiers like modify a section. So same thing, whatever I showed here, right? So it will be listed here also. Even we have another examples, like this is a quite interesting one, like get height. So whenever you want to know that height and frame of that particular UI element, so maybe if you want to know this get height, right, get width or width, so you just need to know, you just pass a boolean or something like that. Sorry, the type is a CG float, so it accepts CG float. So it will, if you get things right, so it will get that height of this frame, and it will apply to that thing.
Mahesh, I have a question regarding the maintainability of this repo. So how do you plan to maintain this repo and probably address the issues or requests from the community as such?
Okay. So we have three developers, okay, like a dedicated, like me and one more person, Gopinath, and one more person, Arvind. Like we were actively looking into the repo, and we will, because the same thing we were using in our app production. So we will update most of the things, like whatever comes to this issues sections, right? We will show that we can, as soon as possible, we can try to fix or answer that things. So because we were constantly using this repo with our production app, so we can assure that we will provide that support. So even like we have this main branch, so we will use our production developments in the develop branch. So we will mostly will our development activities in the develop branch. So we will for 6 months once or 3 months once, we will release these things in main. So also we will release branches and release nodes. Everything will be 3 to 4 months. Yeah, like it depends upon the schedules we follow like that. So next questions. Any plans to include animation into this library in future? See. So I just want to know like what type of animation you are looking for, so that
So I think like if you look into various animation libraries that are present out, so it comes up with various standard animations, right? For example, if you want to do a certain animation from left to right, or probably a dissolve animation or something.
Okay,
So
okay.
I'm just giving like two basic examples. I
Mm-hmm.
think there are a lot of references that you can find out across
Yeah.
for the animation libraries. So just thinking like if you do have plans, so probably have given a thought around the same.
Okay. Like animations we will use, but we didn't brought anything right now, but maybe in future we'll plan and include some sort of animations with the native components, because we will have minor animation within the component itself, like when we tap buttons and these things we have taken care. But if you want dedicated things for things, right, we'll plan and bring that functionalities with that repo. So yeah, it's a good questions, like why we need this wrapper, right? Like basically, right, if you can use SwiftUI itself, but sometimes some people will prefer that uh, same theme for entire app, right? So that time, if you want to match that theme, right, so it will hard for you to go and fix each and every places to match that theme, because right now we have gone with a theme of like so this theme. So the look, so if you see here, right, so we will this is our primary color, so it's a blue. So same way, if you're given a theme, right, so it will apply throughout the app. So you will write codes, right? So if you apply one place, you can give a different sort of themes. So then it will apply for all over your app, so that we can't uh, go deal with each and every places to achieve that theme. So yeah, that's a reason. And also, if you go with the reusable components, right, so you can fix a lot of issues at one place, so it will affect throughout the app. So it will reduce the development time. So yeah, that's why we are gone with the reusable components. So if you just want to know why we gone with the approach, right, so we have an app. So it was EM360 mobile. So it was written in UI kit long back in 2016. So we were completely rewritten everything in a SwiftUI. So with 1 year of a transition period. So without these reusable components, right? So it will take for us to rewrite the entire thing for 2 to 3 years. So with this help of reusable components, right, we have transitioned within 8 to 9 months. So we were show that with these reusable components, we can get things done faster. So yeah, we have you can have to contribute these things. So thing is like we right now we didn't provide any contribution notes here. We'll talk to our team and we'll update the contribution title, because we just want to we stick with our design principles and patterns. So if we just we without that thing, so we will break our these things with the community, right? So we have a designer in Poland, like Daniel. So this is the idea behind him. So get these things in this app and packages, get things done. So yeah, we'll update you on that in that repo as well.
So Mahesh, one thing I think generally, like if we are opening this up for the public usage, right, to across the community, I think the components that we build should be highly customizable.
Yeah,
If it is, what do you say, adhering to a specific design guideline, then things would be difficult for the folks to adopt across, right? For example, there are very famous libraries that you can find as charts, pulley, right? All of these things, if you see, like they're just bare minimum abstraction that helps you achieve certain things, but you can customize on top of it like a lot. So I think if you could probably focus on those areas, how we can customize that, right, as per our needs, then it would be really great. Because if I could see like you have a menu sheet which is very specific as that design, but cannot really alter much into that, right? So if
yeah, the reason behind that is what are so we have some things, right? Like we have a component, so whatever things can be altered, right? So that things we have create a modifier without breaking that core functionality and core design patterns. So whatever we can update, right? That maybe if you see that colors and maybe that fonts, these things are customizable, but without breaking that core component. That's the reason. So most of the time there is a modifier. If it is customizable, we add that. So if you want, so that kind of customization, you just see up, do some sort of uh, issues arise. So if it is possible, then we will write, or else you can, if you find something interesting, so you can also contribute that. So always, yeah, if we are already considered those things and we build that such a way like that. So yeah, if you want more customization, so we'll think about that and how we can done. Yeah.
I think the key takeaway from this topic is that I think like how we are to build what do you say, like reusable components or the design library as such. Many companies do have their own design libraries where they put on this reusable components adhering to their design guidelines. The most important part is that to have the segregation from day one itself, if we can, so that as soon as the app grows, then we keep that keep adding all the new components into the same. I don't think so many startups or the various other organizations do follow this standard practice, but I think eventually they end up doing preparing up a design library. For example, the benefits that you mentioned, right, with a common theming. So the idea is to have this kind of separated, segregated design libraries for each and every organization that you are trying to build up, so that it adheres to a specific design guideline and everyone avails the usable components across. So yeah.
Yeah, any more questions? There won't be that much things. You just start with simple things with the reusable components slowly, and you can build things. Yeah. So you don't want to be that much complex things. Maybe a simple button styles, because you will think like, hey, why we need this things to be a component like that. But if you see at the long run, right, it will be more helpful, and developing things at once, right, you can use often, so that you can reduce your time and efforts on that particular things. Maybe a simple button, if you see that, right, you will write often to deal with that. Yeah, you can write once and you can use it. Yeah, that's it from me, guess.
Yeah. Thank you, Maheshwaran.
Yeah, thanks.
It was a really good, interesting topic, and you have covered about the reusable component that can be beneficial for a SwiftUI framework. So, thanks again. We can have a 2 minutes bio break. So after this, Inderdeep Singh will be delivering his speech. So we can connect around 3:55. Hello team, welcome back. So now we have a new speaker. Let's invite Inderdeep Singh, who is a software development engineer to iOS at Zomato. So he'll be sharing his insights of his experience of migrating the Zomato's mixed source code base to Swift Package Manager. Over to you, Inderdeep Singh. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, guys, for the introduction. And let me know once my screen is visible.
Yes.
Right, cool. Hi, folks. For everyone that's gathered here, thank you all for joining the session and coming here to interact and learn with everyone else. So the topic that I'll be sharing today is how we migrated. So it's a journey of how we migrated Zomato's mixed source iOS code base to SPM. We'll go through the journey from the problem statement, learning about the hurdles and how we overcame them. But first, let's look at like who I am. I want to let you know. So I am Inderdeep Singh. I work at as Zomato as an SG2. I worked on some features. I've written some articles. You might have seen them here and there. And most recently, I went to WWDC 24, which I'm really proud of. So just wanted to put that in quickly for you guys. And now let's jump into it. So before we get into it, let's understand the problem statement of like why we wanted to migrate to SPM or where were we coming from, right? So contrary to common belief, what most people think about when they think about Zomato is that we only have one app that you use to order foods, which is our food delivery and dining app, right? But that's just one part of the story. As you all know, that we also have Blinkit, we have our merchant applications for online ordering and dining, and then we also have something called Hyperpure, right? So they are different business verticals. These are different apps targeted to different people and for different use cases, but underlying they use the same code base, right? To some extent, that is. So again, why we needed the migration? It's like so it's part of that journey where like you are a company that has one app today and suddenly there's a use case for another app. What do you do now, right? At that point, the easiest way is, okay, I'm going to need some components like my UI kit, my login, my location, my all of the other things that are built in one app, and let's just copy paste it and like serve the business and just get it done as we just discussed, right? Because that's the most important thing, like getting it done. But what happened was, or what ended up happening due to this was, we ended up having like different copies of our code bases. So let's say we had one UI library of Zomato that ended up getting copied to Blinkit and the merchant apps and everything else. But there was no like central mechanism to sync everything. So Blinkit had its own copy of the app of the code base, and then they made changes. Zomato kept on making changes, and now they were like two different UI kits. The project for us was how do we bridge the gap and make sure that everything is running unified again, right? So let's go into the migration and figure out what the project structure was before that. So just like I mentioned, for different use cases like UI, like login, like location, chat, payment, right? These are some components that we use across all of our apps. And for that, we have kits, which is like our internal libraries. So we had like 21 kits and one app project. All of these kits were like Xcode projects, and they would just link into the main app project like a framework. Okay. And all of them mostly have like around 20% of Objective-C code, and most of the new stuff that we're working on is just Swift. So this was the structure of the internal code that we were writing. And externally, of course, like there are external dependencies for any sort of project that you're talking about. So for us, each internal kit, let's say if it's the network kit, then it would have an external dependency, maybe like Alamofire, right? But that was imported using Carthage. So every kit would have its own cart file, and then there will be a script in the main apps folder, which would just go into every kit's cart file and import the dependencies. Uh, there were many problems with this system. We like the most basic one was we would always have to wait for these dependencies to be supported by newer versions of Xcode because Carthage works with precompiled modules. And then we also had to fork some dependencies to make them work for us if we wanted to, let's say, not update them for some use case, right? So we had a massive internal code base and a lot of external libraries with the problem statement of how do we unify the code base. So again, we had discussions like about which way to go. We can obviously use Carthage because we're already using it, or maybe Cocoa Pods or something else. But we tried to like shoot for the North Star, which was Swift Package Manager, because that is first party, that is supported by Apple inside Xcode. And we thought if we were able to migrate to SPM, then that would like solve the problem for us for the longer term. So that's what we decided to do. We jumped into it straight in without knowing the pros, like without knowing what hurdles we could face, because like no estimate is as good as actually doing it. So let's start with how we did our first kits migration. I'm pretty sure like a lot of you guys must be using Swift packages in your existing projects. So this should be like very straightforward. It's like creating your first Swift package manager is just going into terminal, putting it this command, Swift package init, then you move your Swift files to the designated folders, and that's it. So for us, the first kit that we did was our UI layer, which we call as Sushi. So that luckily had everything written in Swift. There was like zero Objective-C code. So this is how the process looks like if you just have a Swift code base. Okay. Now let's say we have to add an external dependency. That is also pretty easy. In your package dependency, in your package manifest file, all you have to do is specify the URL and the versions that you would need for a dependency. And this is how you would do it. And luckily for us, all of our external dependencies were supported in SPM in the version that we were using them. So that means that we didn't have to work on it a lot, right? So that was also done. So far, so good, easy peasy, what could go wrong? But then we hit this roadblock. So let's just figure out what each of these terms mean, right? So when we say what's a mixed source Swift package, then that means that Swift package does not only have Swift code, it also has maybe some other language. And that for us was Objective-C, right? And then what is interdependent? We'll come to that. So this is what a mixed source package looks like. So you will have some Swift code that would depend on Objective-C code. Maybe that's some legacy code that you have for like from your time doing development in Objective-C. And if your package or if your code looks like this, then you can probably go and say, okay, my first target out of the package is going to be the Objective-C target, which will have the external dependency. And then my Swift target will just have the Objective-C target as a dependency, right? This is a linear dependency that we're talking about. You could also have it the other way. Maybe your Objective-C code depends on your Swift code, right? So it's all about getting it in a linear fashion. And then you would just export the final Swift target as the library output. But the problem for us was our code base looked like this. So we had Objective-C code that we had, like legacy code that we were using. Then our Swift code, that's a newer code, was dependent on the Objective-C code, right? Which is expected. But somehow there was also this dependency of like, we would write newer components in Swift and then use them in Objective-C where the legacy code was written. So as a product of maybe speed or not knowing what this would cause in the future, we kept on doing these things. And then now most of our packages look like this. So this was a cycle that we somehow had to break because the SPM only works with linear dependency graphs, not cyclical ones. So we kept on like looking what can be done if you have something like this. So the recommended way that we were able to find out was you pre-compile your libraries as projects and into XC frameworks, and then put them inside your Swift packages, right? The problem, again, it's not really the best way to do it, because like you're not shipping code at that point, you're shipping the XC frameworks. Again, pre-compiled, and then that would also lead you to problems while upgrading Xcode or something like that. And there was no other solution for it. So we almost gave up this project at this point. But we decided to like maybe think about how things are done inside when you compile an Xcode project, right? Because in an Xcode project, you can have this cyclical dependency, and Xcode is somehow able to resolve it or figure it out and build the order of compiling the files. So the way Xcode works, or Xcode compiles a mixed source project, is it goes to the Objective-C headers first, and especially the public headers, because those are the only files. So basically, the Objective-C header would have everything that it needs to compile, and then whatever Swift will need will only be the public headers of the Objective-C. And then the implementations come, which is the M file, and they will only ever need the Objective-C headers or the public Swift classes. I hope that that makes sense, right? um, so yeah, again, so as SPM works on file structures, all we had to do was like build these subfolders inside of our existing Kit folders, and then put the, what do you say, file according to their types inside this. So if you look at it, we would have the root folder for the Kit, then that would only have two subfolders. One is the Objective-C and one for Swift. The Swift one will only have the Swift files. The Objective-C one would have another like two subfolders, the headers for the H files and implementations for the M files, right? And we're doing this so that we can have, so that we can define our targets using the folders. So if you look at the first target, that just has the Objective-C headers and it excludes the implementations, right? The second target is the Swift target, which takes the Objective-C headers as a dependency. And the third target is our final output target, which takes the Swift one as a dependency and only compiles the M files. And so this almost worked, but then we figured out that to make an O file of a framework, you need to have like at least one M file in the H target. So we added an like empty M file and an empty H file into the implementations one. So this is how our updated structure looked like. And after we did this, we were able to compile our first interdependent mixed source Swift package. And yeah, I thought like then we thought what could be the problem next. But yes, as soon enough we figured out there's another roadblock in doing this. Now because our Objective-C H files did not have access to the Swift files, our forward declaration started to break. But to understand this first, we have to understand what a forward declaration is. I'm not sure how many of you do know like SwiftUI or work with, sorry, how many of you know Objective-C or have to work with Objective-C? So I'll try my best to explain it to you. So whenever we have to use a property or a function that uses a type which is defined, which is not defined in Objective-C, we can do this. Like we can have the add class notation that just tells the compiler that, hey, this class exists, right? You don't have to care about its actual definition for now, but it exists. So this is like a promise. We are just saying that it exists. It doesn't check. So let's say if we were to have this in our code base where we are using a Swift type in the H files, then the H files would compile, but the problem would come when we are using that in the Swift target. The problem would come there because this promise that we are saying that this class exists gets fulfilled in the implementation of this header file. But because our Swift target now sits in between the H and M, it was not able to access those types. So the problem was that we were not able to access these types and these functions inside the Swift target. So to get rid of this issue, we had to like completely forego or let go of these breaking forward declarations. To do it, we had to lose some sort of type safety. But this is a sacrifice we thought that we would be okay making because the upsides were that big. And to avoid these problems in the longer run, we wrote Swift extensions of those props. So basically what we did was all of the properties, we changed their type to the first available superclass in the Objective-C, which like sometimes was defined in Objective-C, or otherwise you can just say it's NS object. And then inside of Swift, you can write public extensions, which would just be a getter and setter of that Objective-C property, but now with type safety. So by doing this, our second roadblock was also resolved. And I know these were a lot of words that you like, some of like it might have like flown over your head for the newer folks at least. And lucky for you that you don't understand it. I wish you never have to, but yeah, I'll have some resources for you at the end so that you can go and read about it more. So now once we had figured out how to fix these roadblocks, all we had to do was rinse and repeat the process for 21 kits. Like this is one slide, but it took us like weeks to do. Then we had to import all of the packages in the app and then build and run it. To our surprise, the app ran. although a few things were breaking, but like on the first run, we were able to like log into the app and then view the home screen, which was like a big win. Then we had multiple test sessions across teams, and we distributed using test flight and like figuring out what can break, right? Then we figured out a few other hurdles, which were related to the archiving and unarchiving, retrieving assets from bundles. Objective-C code was not getting indexed in Xcode sometimes. The app size increased due to what do you say, static linking, and a lot of these things. But yeah, eventually we fixed these, and then we had to merge the pull request, which had so many changes that it couldn't even be reviewed on GitHub. Every time someone would tap on files changed, it would just crash. But since we had tested a lot of things, we were sure that nothing's gonna break. And then we shipped the app to the customer in January 2024. So if you have been using our apps, primarily like for you guys, it's the Zomato app and the Blinkit app. So if you've been using the apps, then you are using already the migrated code. And now once the release was out, that's when our test started of like how successful this migration actually was. And due to the effort of the team that we were able to test the app so thoroughly, we had 0 new crashes reported due to migration. And this is like, we're talking about an app which gets millions of app opens every single day. It's like some people's livelihood depends on it. So this is a number that we're like really proud to boast. And then we always take pride in maintaining our crash-free sessions, and pre and post the migration 99.99% crash-free sessions. Then post-release, we also did a few other things. Now that we had like established an architecture which can be like plugged and played into different apps, we migrated all of our internal kits into a new iOS monorepo. And then every single of our consumer apps and the merchant apps now, like use these as GitHub submodules to their own repos. We've also written some GitHub actions to ensure the resiliency of the system, and we're like actively working on it. It's like a living and breathing system. And we have also migrated all of our sister apps. A couple of realizations was migrating to newer Xcode is just like now hassle-free. You can just like download Xcode and open your project, it'll start to work. And like, yeah, some of you might say like, what's the big deal? My project does that automatically, and good for you guys. But this was a pain point for us. And if you have worked on like large scale apps, then you might also see like why this is a big win. We've also started implementing macros in our day-to-day development, and it is a really powerful tool for us. And creating and linking new kits is now super easy, since we use a very easy to use SPM now for internal and external kits. We have been creating a lot of new kits as well. In case you want to see the like bigger picture and understand a lot of the things that were not covered in the talk due to time constraints, you can read the blog post. Also, this was approved by Apple in WWDC, so I feel you'll have something to learn from it as well. And that is it from me in this session. I think that there was a lot of big words, but I hope that you take something from it. And now the gate is open for questions, and thank you so much for attending it. Okay, I'll pick the questions now from the chat. Yeah, someone was aware about forward declarations. Good job, Roshan. Why sushi? Well, we are a food company, and the names that we pick for things are generally food related, and sushi is just a fun name. Now it's like we talk about it every day, so that's just something that we have like been calling our things. Okay, for kimchi, again, kimchi is also a food item, so we name our things with that. Can you tell us about your article? I mean, the article is out. If you have any specific questions, then I can answer. But yeah, which UI framework you use, UI Kit or SwiftUI? So since it's a very big app and like it's a very old code base as well, we have been using UIKit primarily for now. We have certain things where we use SwiftUI, and that are the things that like you can't use UIKit. Let's say our live activity, and the widgets that you see on the Blinkit app that uses SwiftUI, but mostly it's UIKit. We do have like we are currently in the process of building a mechanism that would maybe allow us to move to SwiftUI in the future. Does Zomato uses multi-module architecture? Can you please like explain the question? I'm not able to get what you want to understand. Okay. Can you please explain about the internal dependency migration? So internal dependencies, as I said, were separate Xcode projects, which were linked into the main app as references. So all we had to do was get rid of the proj file, structure the files as I just showed in the presentation, and then make the individual kits as SPM packages and then link it back to the project. So that is how we did the internal dependency migration. How to get in Zomato as a junior iOS developer? I'm not gonna answer this question. You just have to be good. What's easier, integrating SwiftUI into UIKit or the other way around? We have talked to multiple people regarding this because we definitely want to do SwiftUI, and that's especially due to the upsides that it offers, and also the talent, the newer talent that we hire. Generally, newer folks are more used to programming in SwiftUI. So we definitely want to go there. So we have discussions we also discussed it with the UI team at WWDC24. And all they said was you don't have to say like, so keep most of your containers and bigger views as UIKit. So let's say that's your navigation stack, that's your collection views, that's your table views. But what's inside those views, the things that you change frequently in the app, that can be SwiftUI. But again, I mean, we'll probably have another talk or a blog about it once we have done the migration. Awesome. Zomato uses both SPM and other dependencies. So SPM is a dependency manager, which ensures how our internal dependencies as well as the external dependencies are imported in the app, how they are linked to the project, and what version of each dependency is used. So that is where SPM sits. We have a long list of other like external dependencies as well, which we use in the app. If I have to name, like there's Alamo Fire, there's Firebase, right? There's Google Login, a lot of these stuff. Were there any changes to the app size or any performance tweak that you noticed after migration? Yes. So if you read the blog, you will find out that basically the SPM allows you to make packages that are in three types, right? One is a static package, which gets linked into the project statically. That means it goes into the executable file. The other is dynamic, in which if let's say you have multiple let's say, so basically assume there's a package A and then there is a package B and C. Now these package B and C, they both use a package A, right? So if I was using static linking, then the package A would get copied into B and C. That means the size increase if you have some like shared dependencies, correct? But dynamic, it allows you to keep one copy and then B and C can just refer A. So this is and the third way that you can link it is just by not specifying it, then Xcode takes care of how it is linked. For us, when we tried it with automatic, that means we didn't specify how each packet gets linked. This app size was increased by like 5 times. And that was because it always defaults to static linking because that's faster on app launches. So we then had to go and manually say every package is a dynamic package, and then that resulted in our app size becoming back to normal. Can you share your journey into getting Zomato as iOS developer? I mean, it's a fun story, but I don't know if that covers if that's in the scope of this this presentation. We can talk about it in the breakout rooms afterwards. Before releasing, have you guys thought about a rollback plan? What if it doesn't work in production? So we are very bullish on not shipping things if they are not correct or not ready for our customers. So what we did was we maintained a parallel branch to our development branch. And every week while I was doing the migration, I would take a pull of the development branch just to be in sync with whatever we are shipping, right? So there were like two parallel branches that we had. One where the developers were working every single day, that was not touched, that was still using the older architecture while I was working on this. So, and then all of the testing and everything also happened on the parallel branch. Once we were sure that now this is ready to be shipped, only then we migrated and merged it into our development branch. Which iOS development target do you use mostly? We generally like look at our numbers. We have like user bases, and then we also like capture whatever iOS version that people are using. I think you can also see it on Firebase. Yeah, so for general rule of thumb is we generally just support the last three versions of iOS. So for now it's 15, 16, 17. Once 18 releases, will drop support for 15. How did you reduce app size? I think we already touched that. Final step is statically or dynamically linked. What were the consideration taken into account while choosing one? So we ended up going with dynamic because a lot of our dependencies are shared across multiple dependencies. Let's say we have one kit for our online ordering flows, one kit for chat, one kit for payments. They all use the same UI layer, right? The UI kit. So it was very obvious for us that we want to go the dynamic route. And one thing that it also allows you to do is have quicker, what do you say? Um, what is it called? Yeah, so the quicker iterative builds also in dynamic. So that's why we just went dynamic, right? It does take a hit on your app launch times, because at whenever you launch the app, that's when the linking happens in that case. But that's a sacrifice that we have taken for now. There are a few things that Apple has launched recently that we are yet to explore, which sort of like bridges the gap between these two. Have you explored around libraries under a single package? Yes. So we saw this problem popping around whenever we would read on blogs, and whenever I would discuss it with developers as well, that every time that they open Xcode or every time their CI is trying to trigger a build, they would see huge downloads, like huge packages that are being downloaded at that time, which would slow down the whole thing. Luckily for us, I don't know what the reason is. We just never faced the problem yet. Maybe when we'll face it, we'll fix it. But so far, we just like import the packages just like normal. Like we don't have a container package that imports other packages for us. Are you folks TDD frameworks, and how long take to migrate 21 kits? Okay. So TDD, test-driven development, we don't do that yet. There's a plan, we want to do it, but it's just generally because it's not in the system for us. We are a very like quickly, like we like to execute very quickly, right? So the current release process is like once everyone's features are released into the main release branch, then all of the developers and stakeholders, we just test the app, test the basic flows. We have a testing sheet, it's all manual, and then we ship the app. And how long did this whole project took? I think it took around 4 to 5 months of like dedicated effort from one person, and then we were able to do it. How do you maintain release note for SPM repo, and how you release new kit version? Okay, so there were two approaches in this. One is we could have had separate versioning for each kit, but that for us would get very hard to manage because we are like almost every week there is a new. So we have a weekly release cycle, and we almost always touch each kit every week, right? So because like there are so many modules, like sometimes there's a feature in payment, sometimes a feature in chat, right? So everyone is just like doing a lot of development. We have a big team as well. So it would get very hard to manage the versions on each of the packages individually. So what we do is we version the whole mono repo as one. So let's say this week's release of mono repo. So we ship the whole mono repo as the release. So that means that if you go to one release of mono repo, every single kit is supposed to work with each other. I hope that answers your question. Which app architecture Zomato is using, MVVM or other? We like to keep it MVVM, but then it's also like we leave it to the developer because like putting too many restraints and constraints around people is also not good. I think that just kills innovation. So if you have like, we are very free in that regard, as long as like getting it done is the most important thing. How not to get overwhelmed when creating our first application. I think as we also discussed in the previous talks, the what helps is just starting and maybe having smaller goals. Like you can just pick one application that you use every day and just clone it. Maybe pick some designs as Mahesh also mentioned. Just pick some designs and you can um, like try to replicate them, because that's essentially the job. Even we just get a Figma, and then we all our job is essentially is just replicating those designs into iOS the best way possible, and then making sure the how the interaction and animations and the haptics etc. feel about the app. Some people say MVVM is not best art design architecture when working with SwiftUI. If yes, what's the reason? I'm not sure how to answer this question. I haven't worked that much with SwiftUI. So yeah, I'll skip that. Does Zomato uses CI/CD pipelines for apps? Yes, we have our GitHub Actions pipeline. A lot of actions, a lot of checks run on it before every PR is merged and stuff like that. That can be so like whole another session. So we'll not touch that in this. Are you using any material design or carousels for homepage, both for Blinkit and Zomato food app? Not sure. Like all of our designs are custom. We have custom components for almost everything. Let's say for a button, we would have our own wrapper over a button, a label, a text field, and everything like that. And that component is unified across both the apps. Which thing you keep in mind to ship your 99.99 crash-free app? It's nothing, like it's just uh, it all boils down to like testing the app thoroughly before release for us, and then monitoring it actively. Like it's not like we never ship crashes in our app, but it's all about how quick you are to respond to that. And I feel like the team has done a tremendous job to close this gap as much as possible, and then monitor all of these things very actively. So yeah, that's an achievement for the team. Do you guys use Xcode Cloud for testing? Not yet. We haven't experimented with it. What is test coverage? Do you use UI test? Does QA uses automation script? All of the answers are zero. We don't have test coverage in the app. We don't use UI tests, and we don't have QAs. So, I mean, this came as a surprise to me as well when I joined Zomato. But that's just the culture. Like you would think how things are working, like this must be very hard to manage, or how do you track what breaks and what's not? Like that just how things work as Zomato. And yeah, it's we don't write tests. Although we are like writing tests in the newer modules that we are writing, but for the most part, in the product development life cycle, we don't include the testing and everything. What is time of launch of the app after migration? Is it increased or decreased for incremental build? Build time unchanged, because prior to the migration, we had dynamic linking, and post migration again, we have dynamic linking. So nothing really changed for us. And we haven't noticed significant changes in app launch times. But like I can't really speak about if it actually increased or decreased because we haven't checked. Where can you find out recording of the session? Sorry, didn't. My question is about CI/CD to release a new version of SPM. So to release a newer version of package, that's just as easy as just going on. Yeah, we have a what do you say, GitHub action that would just go every week and create a release. But it's nothing like special. It's just like how you create a release for a repo. Are you doing server-driven development for your app? Yes, that is how we ship UI in the app. If not, even if not for Kimchi, our existing apps as well. We don't like on the app side, we don't know what each screen is. We just have a lot of the dynamic UIs and behaviors that we develop, and then it's all server-driven. What shows on every page, how things interact with each other, and everything. As Apple has mandated SwiftUI for widget and live activity, do you see in future SwiftUI will be mandated for app development as well? Just want a view on this. I know that's not their intent with the SwiftUI. They are not going to force you anytime soon to move to SwiftUI, because when our interactions as well, whenever we have asked Apple, like how should we go about migrating to SwiftUI? Should we just leave UIKit behind? Or they have always said that they also use UIKit components in their apps and that UIKit is not going anywhere. SwiftUI is just an abstraction written over UIKit, which is more efficient and easier to learn. But yes, the best power of both of the frameworks is together with each other. It's not an either or for them. Does it mean you guys don't have QA team? No, we don't have QA teams.
Sorry to interrupt, Inderdeep Singh. Yeah. So we are running out of time. Yeah,
Okay.
it was a really informative speech. Thank you for the time. And your presentation has given yeah, different in perspective modular architecture and also easily dependency management using the SPM. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
And I would like to request everyone to share your feedback. We have posted the link here in the chat. Thank you, Inderdeep Singh, again. Yeah. So, the team behind the scenes. Yeah, I thank each and everyone who contributed for this Swift Bangalore. And coming to the community contributors, thank you for the volunteers and contributors for this. And so we have a call for volunteers. We need a volunteers who can find a venue host and speakers for the online and offline meetup. So and we would like to being a part of the organizing team and the volunteers who can build a community site or using a community platform. And we post the iOS Swift related jobs in the LinkedIn page, and also in future we'll be adding in the Discord server. We have a separate Discord server where we are also contributing. So we need volunteers for contributing to the Swift open source and building an app for the community, example Prescom, and who can create graphics for the meetups and writing the blogs to share the insights of the Swift iOS development. So a call for the collaboration. So we have discussed about the call for volunteers in the previous slide, and call for the venue sponsors and contribute Swift open source in the upcoming slide. So call for the venue sponsor, volunteers who can support developer community, the iOS development, and the venue sponsor has we will be given opportunity to showcase their brand at the event. And we have 3 slots for this meetup, 2 for technical talks and 1 for the non-technical talk from their organization. So the venue can be
Yeah, Sabapati, I don't think so your screen is visible.
Yes, I think it says Sabapati is sharing a screen, but we can't see the presentation. Yeah, now we can see.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so the team behind the scenes, these are the members who contributed for the Swift Bengaluru. And I thank each and everyone. The community contributors, so these are the members who have contributed to the community. So here it's a call for the volunteers. So volunteers can who can help us in finding the venue host speakers for the both online and offline meetups. and also who can really want to be a part of the organizing team. They can build a site, a community site, and also they can post the iOS related jobs, and they can contribute to the Swift open source. And we need a volunteers for making a graphics for the meetups and also writing a blogs to share the general audience with the Swift development. The call for venue sponsors and call for a Swift open source contribution. So in terms of venue sponsors, it can be a co-working space or an organization. You can refer us, and they can support the developer community, and we will be giving opportunity to showcase their brand at the event. And we have 3 slots for them, 2 for technical and 1 for the non-technical talk. And for Swift open source, so we can pick any issue and you can get any help. You can you can get help from the community members, and you can submit the first PR. So I would like to request each and everyone to turn on your camera so that we can take a snap. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Let me share. So we have a interesting part of this meetup, that is a breakout session. So that will be handled by Abhishek. So over to you, Abhishek.
Hey guys, thanks for joining in. I think few people have left. Maybe it's already too long for the Saturday weekend. But I think we'll use these breakout rooms as a, what do you say, as a space where we kind of engage ourselves, have casual discussions. Generally, in our physical meetups, we used to take a corner and sort of start discussing with folks. But I think we'll probably split the total number of audiences into 2 breakout rooms. So where we'll be following a simple rule. That is, we will choose, like any of our, what do you say, co-host will choose a specific person to begin with, just to initiate a conversation. Post that, I think they will choose from any of the audiences that are there in the Zoom meeting, as per their wish, and they can speak next, right? So it would go in a circular meeting. I think this is a very popular strategy that I think we follow in our stand-ups and various other meetings in our offices, where one person who is speaking would nominate another. So yeah, please, let's be respectful. Let's try to communicate with everyone over here. I know it's a bit difficult to do it on a what do you say, online meetup, but we'll try our best, right? So people don't hold us back. I knew that you had a lot of questions for Inder and Mahesh and Kailash, right? Keep them flowing. Let's bombard them with questions and make their weekend a nightmare. Yeah. So Nayan, can we sort of create that breakout rooms?
Yes, Abhishek. So let me. So 2 we want to create, right?
Yeah, let's create 2. I think we'll have some 25 odd people in each group. I would
Okay, so
request
I'm just.
Inder and Kailash to, what do you say, shift in between.
Okay, okay.
Nayan, I think we have to also probably unmute folks.
Well, let's see. I mean, I think already created a room. Hello everyone. Hello. You guys can mute yourself. Let, let me know if you're not able to mute. Hello, can you hear me? You can unmute. Hi, Sabapati, over to you.
Yeah, I hope everyone has joined the main room, right?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So it was really interesting in the breakout rooms. So we are at the end of the session. So I would like to thank each and everyone for gathering to attend this online meetup. So, and if you have any feedback or suggestions, we are happy to receive that. So please share it and stay tuned for the next event. See you at the next event. If you have any venue or speakers, if you are interested in the speakers, let us know. For the next event, you can check out this Meetup website or our page. Thank you. Thank you.
Can we have the meeting running for folks who still might have some questions?
Yeah, why not? We can.
Okay, cool. I mean, you guys can bounce out if you want. If anybody still has questions for me, I think I can stay for another 10-15 minutes and then we'll drop.
Yeah, I think I can stay since recording is going on. So
okay.
Yeah.
Do we have any more questions, guys?
Any question for Kailash?
Oh, I guess we'll have to enable mic permission. Yeah. Okay. I think you'll be able to unmute yourselves now.
Yeah, hi. So first of all, congratulations for your WWDC. So you went there, and so I do have. So I had the first question that you just answered, I believe, about the testing. So you said that like each individual component is owned by someone, and that it's their responsibility to test that. But still, like someone, like a manual tester has to be there, to test all the components together at the production level, like before pushing it to the production. So like, do you have such kind of a workforce, or it's still like component, the person who is building the components is responsible for that? My second question is, I'll just say, say all these questions. My second question is, so like as it's a very large project, so how would you like move to something new? For example, like Swift data is there, that is something new, or like how often do you move things to something new that comes out in a new version, or maybe like a new Swift version? So how often do you do that? And my last question is, so you do have a lot of changes and a lot of people working on different components. So how do you, what my experience was, like if some person did something and the other person working on something, so like it gives a lot of issues. And it gives a lot of boilerplate lines that I remember that back we have to open in Visual Studio Code and then remove those boilerplate lines in order to merge it into the main branch, or something like that. It did give a lot of issue. So how do you guys get rid of those, Git issues working on a very large project with a large number of developers? Yeah, that's it.
Okay, I forgot the second question. Can you...
Uh,
Sorry.
Yeah, second question was like, how often do you move to new things? For example, from core data to
Okay.
Swift data, something like that. Yeah.
Let me cover that first. So for
Yeah,
us, it's not about, so I mean, we do keep an active lookout on whatever Apple is releasing new or what's happening in the ecosystem. But we, as I said, maintain minimum deployment to like 3 versions of iOS. So right now for us is iOS 15, 16, 17. That means whatever we ship in the app has to work on all of these 3 versions. So that's our simple check, right? So in case whatever is new coming up in iOS 18, that is only available in iOS 18, we will not touch it right now. Or maybe if we will do it, then we'll ship maybe another version of that implementation to the older users as well, right? We are not really the first ones to jump on things. We think about the ways how like those new features can impact our customers. So like live activity was the one thing that we shipped like very quickly, because that was exactly what we were looking for, right? A place for you to track your order when the app is not open. So I think, yeah, in the time that I have been at Zomato, that's the only thing that we have shipped like after announcing dub and like as soon as the iOS version is released. But other than that, like as you said, Swift data, I don't even have a plan to like actually like move to that, because we have a core data layer in our app that is written, I think, 10 or 12 years back. It's all in Objective-C. It's all undocumented. It's all untested. It's just tested by the number of years that it's been written, right? So we don't really mess around with that a lot, or at all. If someone has to, then I mean, I wish like they have the strength in their soul to do it. But yeah, this is how we do newer things. As but the next question that you asked about Git and Git giving you issues while you have conflicts in your files. We have a lot of files, dude. There's like very like small number of times when people are working on the same files. But even when that happens, I think it's all about like if I get my feature merged in the development branch first, then whoever is merging the next commit, then they will have to ensure how the conflicts are resolved. And sometimes we do face issues with the way that the changes were resolved. But yeah, that's just the part of the job. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Cool.
Inder, I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so you said the Zomato app displays UIs based on server-driven values.
Yep.
So are you using remote config or you have your own service?
So we do have remote configurations as well for some changes, or some maybe like if we are fixing some bug, right? And then we are not sure about if that will cause bugs or that might cause more problems, right? In that case, we do keep those changes behind remote configuration. But when I talk about server-driven UI, that's not what I mean. Server-driven UI is essentially the backend, the API response telling us what views to show, what information to populate in, and what will happen on, let's say, if I tap on a view or tap on a button, how the interactions will be made. So that is how it works for us. So if you look at any of the page, it's mostly the same view controller in the app. It's just populated differently basis on how the flow of the business wants it to.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
The menu that you see in the app, that is all on app side. So all of the, basically we don't want whenever you add an item to your cart, like an API call going and then the response coming, all of that flow is all native and local on the device. But yeah, most of the discovery flows and even the cart is all backend driven.
Okay.
Digvijay has a question. Hi, Digvijay. Hello, I think you're on mute.
Yeah. Hey, Indrjit, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. First of all, thanks for the wonderful session which you gave. So my question is, like around your release plan, let's say, because I'm also doing the same thing. We also have to give the SPM report. So time we struggle with the how we have to do. What currently we are doing is we have a script. So the script we have to run manually. Sometimes some build settings, something we have to get it from the build set. So just I want to know your thought process, like how you are releasing a specific SPM to other teams, or you just integrate whatever other teams has released.
So SPM, for us, we have a development branch and then we keep creating release times out of it. People working across these other apps, and for us as well, the process is very simple. If you have to make changes in the kits, then you raise the PRs with the development against the development branch of the monorepo. And then those changes are reviewed by the module owners. So let's say there are people who own certain kit, they would review the changes and ensure that it doesn't break any of the existing flows, and it serves whatever purpose is for the PRs successfully. So that's how it is done usually. And for the release, it's not really like we don't create releases after every commit. We do it with our own app launch. So we have a weekly release cycle, as I said, and on every Friday, what we would do is we would create the release of a monorepo. and that will then be shipped inside the latest version of the Zomato app, as well as whoever other is using the monorepo. I hope that answers
Okay.
your question.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. That's release like your commit, your pull request review. But how you actually create the release? Let's say today is 27th day. You had your release version is 2.1.0, right? So after 10 days, you have to create one more version on 2.0.1. So how you release that version?
You're asking about
So
versioning.
are you manually?
How do I put
Yeah,
the new version number?
not version. No, not versioning. So how you release a new version? Either you release manually build, or you have some kind of a script which build and just upload one, because your development repo is different and your SPM repo could be different. So how you release a package itself, not from the reviewing part
So
or the
it's not one package. First of all, we don't export one single package out of the whole monorepo. Okay, it's so monorepo is a place which has a lot of packages, right? So when I create a release of the monorepo, either manually or mostly that happens using GitHub Actions, that will just say, okay, this is the release number and it points to this commit. That's it. Okay.
Okay,
Now
so
the
that means
developer, what they will do is in our main app, we have a GitHub submodule reference of that repo. Okay. And that points to that specific commit of the monorepo. And that's how we do the development.
okay, that means you have some kind of Git script already,
It's
right?
called Git submodule, which sort of says, okay, this is my main repo, right? So let's say Zomato's app. And that would depend on one specific commit of the monorepo.
Okay, understood. And how you release the release notes also? So how you maintain those?
So our release notes are populated using our PR titles itself. We try to keep descriptive PR titles, and then we have links to all of the pull requests in the release notes for other developers.
Okay, but let's say you have 5 commits, 5 PRs for a release. So how you maintain? How you give a more descriptive manner? Okay, for this release, these are the items I'm going to release. So how you maintain and how you keep track of
You're
those?
saying when do I say, okay, I have enough number of changes, now let's create a release, right? It's not basis on the number of changes we have done. It's about whenever we want to release. It's a weekly release cycle. It's not like I will say, okay, these 5 commits are useful enough to create another release, right? Because we are our only consumers. We are not shipping it to anyone outside of Zomato.
Okay, got it. Got it. That means you don't have a specific format of the release.
Yeah.
Like for us, how it is like that is we have a specific feature we give to other teams, right?
Yeah.
So we have to be on more descriptive. Okay, this is the new API which we are giving to us. So we have to keep track that. And currently we are kind of struggling how to maintain that and how we just kind of manual work we are doing. So that's what I want to ask. So maybe let's say today you release one build and within that build you have 5 changes. Okay, one is for you have enhanced, you have optimized one function. So do you keep track that those changes, or it's just okay because your colleague is also from your team or whom you are releasing, so you don't maintain that kind of release notes because it's not a public okay,
Yeah, it's
fine.
not. Yep. We just do,
Yeah.
so the release cycle of the monorepo is deeply tied to the release cycle of Zomato's consumer app, because that is the, if you can say, the mother app of all apps. And then whichever app wants the latest features from the monorepo, then they take a pull in their app and figure out what breaks and stuff like that. We don't,
Yeah,
while doing the development on Zomato, we are not really that concerned about things breaking for others. Does that make
yes,
sense?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all my query. Yeah, thanks.
Cool. Do we have anyone else?
Just last question.
Okay.
How to get into Zomato?
I mean, you just have to be good, bro. Like, we are always on the lookout for engineers. We are always hiring. So it's not that hard to like get into Zomato. Although we do have some things, we don't hire a lot of super senior folks because of the culture. Like, we just are a very young company. So most of our openings, we don't have, first of all, we don't have a careers page, we don't have an openings. We are always hiring. So if you want to join Zomato, you can reach out to me or anyone else in the team. They'll probably refer you, and then we'll go through your profile. Couple of things that we look at are like how good you are in terms of the like if you're working in a product based company, then that's a huge plus. If you are doing a lot of indie projects, then that's also a plus. But other than that, there's nothing really that we do. We don't have DSA in our interviews. We
Do
don't
we have
do a lot of
whiteboard questions?
huh?
Okay.
Yes.
Do we have whiteboard questions?
Do we have
Indra,
Whiteboard questions.
no, we don't have that.
Okay.
So our
just
interviews are also, I
one.
don't know if someone has gone through our interview process. It's like we call it a very human interview process. So we're just like we're hiring a person. We're not hiring a talent or a skill. So that's what we look for. If you are a person who has a lot of potential, maybe not a lot of knowledge or like hands-on experience right now, but if we see the potential, if we see the zeal in a person, then yeah, that's a good fit.
And
Okay.
what is your thought on DSA? Zomato doesn't have any DSA round or first, and very
No,
tough
we
DSA.
don't do any
So
DSA
which
around
we thought,
iOS.
oh, good then.
Yeah, and I know that that can be a controversial topic, but that's a call that we have decided to make. I mean, you have to be good in like logical problem solving, and you need to know what the concepts of DSA are. But it's not like I'll give you a question, okay, now solve it in order of log n, and then you'll have to like that's not the kind of work we do. If you're able to implement the UI and you know the Swift basics, if you know how things work, that's all we really care about because DSA is just one chat GPT query away, dude. Like let's be honest, we're living in 2024.
Okay.
uh, do we have anyone else?
Hi, am I audible?
Yes, Devesh, you are.
Yeah, so I just wanted to ask, what are the few skills that you think in 2024 are a must-have for a good iOS developer, or must think that you will be good at?
I believe like first of all, you should be great at building UIs. Like if you can build and iterate over your UI quickly, then that is a good sort of skill to have for any like junior to mid iOS developer. Um, Also like knowing whatever newer stuff is happening around the industry, keeping in touch with like newer developments, but also other community-based things. I think that is important. But yes, your UI and your understanding of how the Swift language works and using its strengths to your advantages, that is what is, I think, really important. And that's like a timeless advice. It's not like iOS developers are like not gonna be tested on their UI skills in the future. That's always what the metric will be. And you should also have like some sort of innate knowledge about UI UX as well, because as a front end developer, you can't always rely on someone else telling you, right, how big this button should be or where to put this text label, right? You should have that internally, like by and that comes by building a lot of stuff, that comes by using a lot of stuff and observing the little things. If let's say you come across an app that has a really smooth animation, then do you like automatically start to think, oh my god, what like must have went into this, right? How could we have implemented it, or how could they have implemented it? If you are in that sort of lane where you're using an app and you automatically start to analyze how it's working, then
Yeah,
you're in good
yeah.
shape. Yeah.
Yeah, you start thinking with this is built in table view. They have must included a collection within that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can feel in that. Yeah, sure.
It's
Thanks for
especially
that.
in
Thanks.
in
Yeah,
noticing the smaller things, like some
yeah,
maybe like haptics
mm,
or
yeah,
some small animation that they did, like that they like could have also not done, right? It
yeah.
But it just adds to the delight.
Mm. Yeah, one more question. It always happens with me. Like I have given some interviews,
Mhm.
so I reach to the final round, but there are few topics that always miss out in Swift. Like every time I go through, I read something new, but there are some topics that the interviewer asks, and I was like, yeah, it is there also, but they are not generally used in the day to day. development or working. I'm currently working in a product company and it's quite hectic, but we don't usually use those features or part of Swift. So how can we be like take out some time out of our hectic jobs and be like I have to search for these topics, or like these topics are should be known, or we
But
should be good at, we know them too. Yeah.
yeah.
So like how to change your focus from like from your working job, which is already hectic, and like uh, start learning something new
I mean, that's
that
not,
you think.
I don't think I would have the answer to it, although I can help a little bit by saying that if you feel like there is a part of Swift that you need to learn, then what I think you should do is figure out a way that you can integrate into your work app, right? And then try to sell that as a solution to your manager, or say like, this is something that is really cool and I want to do it. Uh, but again, it's not very like easy. I believe like there are companies that might not have that in their culture, right? Or sometimes it's just the
Yeah.
business requirement as well. Your manager also has certain expectations from
Yes.
you. So I mean, you can't really
Mhm.
again rely on your company for your what do you say, personal learning experiences. In terms of
Mhm.
taking out time, dude, everyone's living the same life. Like we all have 24 hours
Yeah.
a day, and we're all working 48 hours a day, right? So
Yeah. Sure. Sure.
yeah, I mean, there's no real answer to it. Sometimes I also feel the same, but then it's
Yeah.
it's all about like looking at what you want to do and then figuring out how you can integrate into your app and then like start selling into
Yes.
it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. 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 Thanks for the
Yeah.
answers.
So I had a question. How frequently do you have like a meeting with the founders and all that stuff?
We don't have a hierarchy as such as Zomato. You can just like on Slack reach out to anyone, connect with it basis on their availability.
Okay.
Uh, it's not like, I mean, so if you want like if you want to talk to Dippy, you can just text him and he'll probably call you someday. Like it happens. Sometimes he also like directly might text you and say, come to my room, and you'll be like, what the
Oh
fuck's
my God.
happening? So and it's all very open culture. We don't have any cabins or rooms in the office. Everyone's just there. So you can see people, you
Wow.
can just say hi, build a rapport, and go about. Yeah.
Some awesome.
As I said, I'm quite new to the.
Supri, you're not audible.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
It's very low. I can though.
Yeah, very few.
Yeah. So as I said, I'm quite new to the iOS ecosystem, but just I had some ideas which I could not properly do it in Salesforce, the Experience Cloud or the website you can create basically out of that. So I wanted an app for those. But in this journey, I came across all of these hybrid versus native iOS app debate. I don't know how far it is a debatable topic, but I want to ask you guys, like anybody can answer this, like how important is it to have a native app, or hybrid apps work? They're secure, they're fast, performant, or with having all the latest features by the Apple inductors coming up. So, what do you suggest? Somebody learning as an additional skill. I want to have my own app later in the stage.
So if you want to have your own app, do you only want to have your own app in iOS, or do you also want to have it on Android? I think it's very business specific. There's one technical answer that I can give. If you want to be an iOS engineer, you should be the best iOS engineer. That means learn like native tools. But if you want to start a business, what I think will help is like being quick to the market, right? Being quick to like iterate over your whatever changes you're doing. So it does make sense for a lot of businesses to start with like these React Native or something like that. But I mean, if you are building an experience around something that is only available natively, in that regard, yes, you will have to go native. But yeah, man, it's very like business conscious call. There are a lot of apps that are also native UIs and are doing fairly good. Like if you open Amazon or Zepto, I believe is also some sort of native. There are also apps like Red, which have native UI mostly, but then also some sort of these shared components as well. So Zepto has a hybrid sort of this. So they have native and they also have these what is a shared UI elements. So it's about finding the right balance, whatever suits your needs, whatever is in line with, because you also then will have to hire like different engineers, right, who would work on iOS and Android versus someone who just works across a shared code base. So finances also come, your speed also comes, your scale also comes. A lot of factors come into that discussion. Okay.
I can give you one example. Like in my current organization, when it started in 2015, so it was totally written in React Native.
Mhm.
But then business requirement came, and some of the reviews on Play Store and App Store were like very worst app of worst app I ever seen. So that kind of comments were there. Then business realized that we should focus on the app apart from website. Then we in last year we integrated. Currently I'm in housing.com. So we have like buyer side. It is in native, and the seller side is in React Native.
Mhm.
So we are using both of them parallelly,
Yep.
and it is seamless experience.
Mm.
But again, when it is about the performance, that we have to definitely go native.
Yep. That's exactly what I was like, whatever works for your business, right? That's the right answer.
Right.
Uh,
As a developer standoff view, I can contribute to this. So I have built apps on native iOS, Flutter, and React Native, all three. So as a developer standpoint, I would say that using React Native was a headache for using multiple libraries for doing even simple things that will look native. Like for if you want to a bottom sheet, that to have a good bottom sheet, you have to use a heavy library in React Native, while in iOS it's very easy to make comparatively. So as a developer standpoint, you can feel the difference. And also like Flutter's UI is not looks doesn't looks very native. So so you have to choose depending on what you want in your app. Like if you are not very UI enthusiast app, you want just to your app to work good, you can use Flutter. And if you are a web developer and want to switch to mobile, then React Native is a good choice. And if you want a performance enhanced based app, like you want good concurrency methods, like or quick rendering in UI and something like that, or the app size. So going native is a good thought, I would say.
Yep. Cool. Thank you for those views. Also, like if in case in the future, I want to expand it to iPadOS or basically macOS. Now it is all the Yum series, so it's great to have. Yeah. Yeah. So I believe as far as this expansion, native would be better things to learn built in from. Yes, if you write code in SwiftUI, I think that's the best way for multi-platform development, as we also learned in the talks before. So yeah, but then you will lose out on Android, which is huge in India. Depends on your market as well. Yes, yes.
So you can learn native Android also if you have
We
Calibre.
do that too. There are people who do both as well, and we also
Yeah.
have this thing called like Jetpack Compose in Android. I don't know
Yeah.
much about it. From what I've heard,
Yeah.
it's similar to SwiftUI, and their
It
language, which is
is, it
Kotlin.
is, it is.
Kotlin is also very similar to Swift.
Yeah,
Similar,
like
not the same.
very,
The
yeah,
runtime is
it is
different.
very similar. Yeah,
Yes.
it has
Totally
quite a
based
lot
on
of features which are taken from SwiftUI. Basically, it was launched after SwiftUI, right? So,
Yeah.
like, it's inspired from SwiftUI, and you can see
Yeah.
the new features coming up in SwiftUI are adopted in
Yeah.
Compose.
Yeah. So maybe
Yeah,
that's your answer.
I mean, totally, I agree with Inder with you that it's based on business need as well as budget
Yeah.
constraint. If you start
Yep.
your own startup and if you want to provide your app in multiple platforms, so you choose maybe cross platform. But if you want to go long way and you have a strong audience base and you have complex design, so you should probably decide to go with the native. It might be help for better. I mean, better performance and long, what I can say that sustainability.
Correct.
Great. Inder, just to bug you a bit, since Zomato has an iOS and an Android presence also, uh, I'm not sure if you guys do have something on Windows stores, but so how are these dependent things, or maybe one feature shipped on iOS developed in Android? It's completely different from the product scratch design, or some feature, some server is used here, something like that.
No shared code. It's all written separately and natively for the platforms. Whatever is the best experience for that.
Oh, thank
Cool.
Inder, do you have any?
Okay.
Inder,
Yeah. Yeah.
do you have any idea about what they are using on the backend also? Are they on Node, Go, or in Java?
It's using I don't know exactly the language that they use is Golang.
Okay.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but I don't really know much about the architecture, so I can't really comment on.
Okay, but they are on Go.
Yes, they're on Golang. Yep. Cool. I guess we'll wrap this. Thank you so much, guys, for making it so interactive and fun. I felt like a celebrity. So thank you so much for being so excited. But yeah, I mean, we can also like chat about things later on as well. So you can just maybe connect with me on LinkedIn if you want. But yep, that's it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for your time. Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah, thank you for the event.
Yeah, you too.
It was,
You
please
guys
make
made
more
my
online event because coming to meetups is a bit difficult.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also more fun, like being in
Yeah,
one
yeah,
place
yeah,
and feeling the energy is crazy.
yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, I'm in Gurgaon, so I cannot attend the Bangalore sessions. You can have a live stream of the Bangalore sessions also.
Yeah. Okay. Bye, guys.
Okay, thanks.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.